Well, a quick reminder here, Kenyans will be going to the polls in August, and just before that, in about 24 hours from now, News Central will be beaming live coverage of the deputy presidential candidates debate from Nairobi, and you have to stay on this. And again, in Nigeria, a whole lot has been happening concerning the 2023 election, but before then, some other staggered elections have held, first in Ekiti and another in Osun, where Nigeria's ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, lost the state governorship election, which was held on Saturday. Incumbent governor of the state, Gboyega, lost the election to the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Ademola Adeleke. Adeleke won the election with 403,371 votes, while Governor Oyetola secured 375,027 votes. Now, both parties and candidates had also squared off directly against each other in 2019, with the APC winning narrowly and under controversial circumstances. Now, Nigeria's electoral umpire INEC has been hailed for its conduct of the election as Nigerians begin to be hopeful about the 2023 elections. While party considerations are still considered important, the Osun election has proven that individuals matter too, and the people's perception of performance leads their choices. The PDP won in 17 local governments, while the ruling APC won in 13 local governments. Joining me now is Dr. Tunji Ogunyemi. He's a senior lecturer, economic history, Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife. And also, of course, Taiwo Akerele, who is the country director of Policy House International, will also join us pretty much later. Dr. Ogunyemi, good to see you, and thanks for your time. You were one of the very first Nigerians, who commented on that election when the result broke. You gave about 3 or more. You looked at the electoral umpire, you looked at performance, and you also looked at votes counting. So let us in no particular order, what you think were the major takeaways from the Osun election?
The first takeaway is that political inclusion and participation has become a thing that is accepted by the electorate in Nigeria. 2, the Electoral Act, the Amendment Act, has worked with respect to electronic transmission of events. And the third is that the issues that has to do with people significantly contributing to the system outside of the political party. In other words, you don't have to really belong to a political party to be critical to either winning or losing an election. So these are the 3 things that I've observed from the Osun election.
And we're digging deep, but again, one key thing has to do with the umpire. Not just you, many Nigerians are beginning to say, wait a minute, we look to, looks like we have an umpire and a prepared umpire looking at the technology it has employed. Now, how will you rate INEC now and even the electorates?
I think on a scale of 1 to 10, I will rate INEC 6 out of 10. I think INEC has upped its ante and has succeeded in significantly improving upon the conduct of elections. Far more significant from what we observed in Ekiti. But the issue of political parties insisting on vote merchandising, if you like, vote buying and vote sale is still there. You actually cannot rule that out for now until a significant punitive measure is put in place, either in the Electoral Act or by INEC, to sanction those who benefit from from vote buying, or to punish those who actually sell their votes. Because it is not enough to accuse people of buying votes. There are people amongst the electorate, in fact, the larger proportion of them are actually interested in selling their votes. Empirical evidence has shown this to us.
Okay, let me quickly welcome Taiwo. He's just joined us. Taiwo Akerele, I can see you setting up, and I see that you're all good to go. Well, the conversation happening, going on in Nigeria now, I think, I don't know if you missed that, Dr. Ogunyemi was one of those who was an earliest commenter on that. Let us in on what you think. When you saw that election result, Taiwo, did it come to you as a surprise?
Yeah, good evening, Sulaiman. Can you hear me?
Yeah, clearly I can hear you. I hope you got the question I asked.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me to this program, and I'm sorry for joining late. We have technology issues. First of all, I want to congratulate the people of Osun State for expressing their mandate, and it's very clear that the election went very peacefully. And everybody in Nigeria is very excited about what is happening to our electoral system. It is getting more transparent. The citizens are now getting the opportunity to get their mandate clearly delivered. And, we also want to commend INEC supervising this very transparent election. And most importantly, Mr. President, for, for signing the new Electoral Act, and of course, the National Assembly. So clearly, Nigerian democracy is making progress. We are advancing. And right now, the international community should be very proud that an African country is consolidating on its democracy. So for me, as somebody that has a civil society background, even though I'm also a politician, I'm very excited that Nigerian democracy is taking root. When you look at where we are coming from, between 1999 to 2003, you look at the 2003 election, you look at 2007, where the president that won had to set up an electoral panel, build the Nigerian electoral system under Justice Wise, you could see that I think a lot of progress has been made. We don't have to be rigging elections, we don't have to be manipulating papers, we don't have to be hijacking ballot papers, because if you do that, it amounts to nullity. So for me, it's a welcome development, and I want to commend the entire electoral architecture in Nigeria, including government, the National Assembly, for putting these kind of processes in place.
Let me jump in here. Taiwo, let me jump in here before we go back to Dr. Ogunyemi. Dr. Ogunyemi has called INEC 6/10. So Taiwo, help us here. Is that election a proof that INEC is ready for the big one next year, talking about the general election?
Yeah, before you score INEC, you have to put a lot of factors into consideration. The Osun election is an isolated case. We need to experiment. We need to underscore the capacity of INEC on a larger scale. Right now, they have done well in Ekiti. They've done well in Osun, and of course, they also did well in Edo. The 3 last elections have been transparent, well adjudged, and free and fair. But we need to put INEC to test on a larger scale for us to have the basis to score them. But for now, it's 5/10.
Dr. Ogunyemi, he just dropped a point of the score. Now let me bring in Dr. Ogunyemi here. I know, I understand. I don't expect you to have the same score.
Of course, when you look at what they have achieved as against 2019, they've done well. In 2019, we scored them 3/10. But right now, they have made progress, and we need to commend them as well.
Now, let's talk about the electorates, Dr. Ogunyemi. It's quite, an important one here. And I noticed Taiwo also, gleaned through that. You said something about merchandising votes, which is what we also call vote buying. And it seemed to be one of those, worry for many who are close watchers of our political, system. Do you see that going anytime soon, or what do you think is the real problem that people still have with not understanding that, hey, this is not the deal?
It's actually the problems of vote buying and vote sale must be pursued simultaneously with respect to punitive measures. It is not going to be fair to put laws in place that will punish the buying of votes. No, but also we should put laws that will sanction the sale of votes. And voters that are interested in selling votes should be apprehended, and significantly polished. But that is just a reigning problem for now. We also have the problem of underage voting. That is a major problem in northern Nigeria. Voters in northern Nigeria who are actually significantly less than 18 years of age also pollute the system and rob the Nigerian political evolutionary trajectory of a true democratic state, a true democratic operation. So in the South, we have the problems dealing with vote buying and other things. But the graver problem is the issue of attitude. The attitude of wanting to benefit from voting anyway, that after all, if you don't buy, if you don't get money from politicians now, you are not likely to get anything from them in the next 4 years. That is attitude now. And no law can be promulgated anywhere in the law, in the world, to instill the right attitude. So it is education. And this is at the level of the civil society organization and at the level of the Nigerian press. And by press, I mean the print and the electronic media. To educate our people, let the National Orientation Agency also rise to the occasion to educate our people on the dangers of both states, of both buying and selling votes, to correct the very negative attitude in Nigeria.
Let me bring in Taiwo here before we'll start looking at what worked and what didn't work for any of the political parties. Taiwo, listening to Dr. Ogunyemi, one of the key things observed is that we still see a lot of older, Nigerians going to cast their ballots as against younger persons, even though Nigeria would say they have more in that figure, more of youth, talking about youthful population, voting population. What do you think the young in Nigeria aren't getting right? Because some would say it just might almost be impossible for you to buy votes of the very young Nigerian if he or she should present himself or herself on the day of election.
Yes, Sulaiman, thank you very much. It's a very worrisome development, and it has been a trend over the years in Nigeria that young people, within the age of 18 and probably 40, don't really turn out for elections, while, people in the demography of 50 and above turn out more. In fact, generally, the turnout for election in Nigeria has hovered between 35 to 40%, which is abysmal compared to, the amount of resources and investment that has been made in the area of, capacity building, in the area of sensitization, voter education, and all of that. It's not commensurate to the turnout of electorate in Nigeria since 1999. But most importantly, and much more worrisome, is the fact that in the age of technology, where millions of Nigerian young people are now on social media, they are aware of the importance of, the relationship between the quality of government in place and the quality of service delivery, the standard of living of the citizenry, and the quality of people in government. And yet, that is not reflecting in the turnout of young people. And yet, the level of civil engagement on social media is so high, you will believe or you will think and you assume that on election day, young people who are so active on social media, young people who are so active in debating issues of governance, issues of institutional failure will come out even much more than those people who are in their 60s up to 80s. And you will now start asking yourself, what are the issues? Why is it that our young people don't have faith in our democracy, even with the improvement in technology? So the question now is this trend, is it going to continue up to 2023? Because if it continues up to 2023, then you now ask yourself, does it mean our young people are not ready for the social change, the democratic change that they are yearning for on social media? There needs to be a correlation between political participation and the debate that is engineered and powered by technology. So our young people need to know the frustration they face today, the lack of economic opportunities, the low quality governance is directly proportionally related to the quality of people that are elected. So when you look at Osun election that recently held, and you look at the demography of those who turn out, it's mostly 60%, people between this age of 60 and above. And it's very disappointing. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done to ensure that young people have faith in our democracy, they have faith in the technology that has been introduced, that it is working, that your vote can count, and you can actually vote for individuals that you think can deliver on their promises. Vis-a-vis the trend that has been on, where political parties hijack ballot papers, talks are unleashed. So right now, it is no longer fashionable for elections to be manipulated. In fact, it's no longer possible, because when you do that, it will not count, because votes now count from unit level up and is uploaded automatically. So for me, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. The consciousness among the youth has to translate into their political participation on election day. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done by civil society groups, young people, community-based organization, faith-based organization, and of course, all youth-related organizations across Nigeria, to ensure that the debate, the quality of debate, the robust debate that is taking place on social media, is translated into, proper election and participatory democracy on election day, so that those governance, values that they yearn for can start taking root, almost immediately in 2023. So the Osun case should be the last time where young people will not come out, will not be excited to vote, because right now it is very obvious, compared to when you cumulate what happened in Edo State, compared to what happened in Ekiti, and now Osun, you can confidently say that the Nigerian electoral system has improved, and therefore there should be a relationship between how the trend that used to discourage young people from voting and the trend henceforth.
Let me bring in Dr. Ogunyemi here. Dr. Ogunyemi, do you think that this election, because someone has not been returned, that's looking at the governor who's just lost the election, Governor Oyetola, do you think the electors looked at the scorecard of the APC governor in this election?
Political behavior in Nigeria, especially political behavior that snowballs into voting and, if you like, support during elections. That behavior is at variance with the performance record of the person in power or anyone who seeks to gain that power through election system. Nigerians tend not to care about the records of financial and economic performance of anybody. And evidence has shown this empirically in the issue of Kayode Fayemi in his first term. Regardless of the performance of the government, it was voted out. In fact, he lost in his own local government. Nigerians tend not to care about the records of performance in governance. They are more impelled to vote on a mundane and very sentimental, rather emotional issues of whether the person is a Christian or Muslim, whether it's from the north or from the south, whether the person is around the people they hate or the people they like, whether the person is a person that is coming from a political area they consider the turn of the turn to eat or the turn to take the cake. That's how Nigerians vote. You'll be surprised that in the next presidential election that shall be held in Nigeria next year, very little issues will be raised concerning performances of the current government in financial or economic matters, or even in political stability and issues dealing with security. Rather, what people will be discussing will be the issue of whether the presidency should come from the south or the north, or whether the person who is going to come from the south or the north is a Muslim or a Christian. I mean, mundane, totally things that are absolutely irrelevant to development. That is how Nigerians vote. And they have been behaving like that since 1959.
Since 1959. And now you're taking us down
Yes.
memory lane. Let us key this in before I come to Taiwo, who is chuckling already, because it looks like a recurring thing every election year. What about bickerings within political parties? Because some have also said that the former governor of the state, Rauf Aregbesola, who is a serving minister, not being in good terms with some leaders in the party, specifically the APC presidential candidate, also cost the party its victory.
Absolutely. The internal crisis within the APC affected, the outcome of the election significantly. You will recall that in 2018, when this incumbent governor was elected, there was, a harmonious relationship between the outgoing governor, Rauf Aregbesola, who is now the minister, and his chief of staff, who is now the incumbent governor, and of course, the national leadership of the party. But progressively in the last 2-3 years, there has been a breakdown of relationship, and all efforts to reconcile them, of course, prove abortive. And that dovetailed into this election, and that accounts for why you see that most of the Aregbesola supporters were not very active during the countdown to the elections. In all the campaigns, they were not very active. They were nowhere to be found. And of course, you could see on social media that the minister was even somewhere outside of Nigeria on election day. So the internal crisis within the APC had a significant impact on the outcome of the election. Then secondly, I understand that there are zoning arrangements in Osun State. Apparently, the incumbent governor is not from the zone that is expected to have produced governor after Aregbesola. So that sentiment, Nigeria, we attach so much importance to zoning, representation, religious sentiment, ethnicity. So all those factors also accounted for why the incumbent couldn't hold things together. Then, of course, we have also talked about the issue of introduction of technology and all that, but most importantly is the internal crisis within the APC. And you know that despite the unity of the party in 2018, it was difficult for APC to have won that election. The election ran into supplementary. In fact, they had to go into alliance with the SDP candidate, Senator Iola Omishore, who is now the National Secretary of APC, to enable them secure more advantage, against the man who now won, Adeleke. So APC has always sat on a tightrope in the last 4 or 5 years in Osun. So some of us are not surprised on the outcome of the election. So it's not just about, the outcome is not just about a referendum on the performance of the outgoing governor, but also about some underlying factors around, disunity in the party, production of technology, zoning arrangement, and of course other primordial sentiments. And as Prof. Right stated, some of these trends have been known. Some of these factors have been affecting our elections since the 50s. In fact, the crisis between Chief Obafemi and Akintola affected the outcome of election in the Southwest, in 1965, and that accounts for why Akintola became the prime minister and Obafemi became the opposition leader in the National Assembly. So for me, all these primordial sentiments have been. So there is a need for political parties to get united, to ensure that there is internal party democracy, to ensure that there is justice in terms of zoning. If there's an agreement, whether documented or not documented, that there should be zoning within a state, people should respect it because it evokes emotion, it evokes sentiment. That you perform or you build a port, you do everything that you need to do. But if you are not from the zone that ought to produce a particular office, it's going to affect the outcome of that election, whether people rig or not, whether people turn out or not. The few people that will turn out, they will vote on the basis of the sentiments that have already been generated, ahead of the polls. So all these factors affected the Oyetola, and of course, the economic situation in Nigeria. Osun State is not one of the most viable economic states in Nigeria. So there's poverty in the land, and insecurity also affected, the outcome of the election. So many other factors. So there's a lot of work to be done by all political parties between now and 2023 election to ensure that they show up their support base, to ensure that they identify all the loopholes that can undermine the amount of people, the number of votes that they can secure from the city. So it goes beyond throwing money, it goes beyond propaganda, the realities on ground is now defining the outcome of elections. Significantly.
Listening to both of you, sometimes one wonders if political parties, for instance, Taiwo, who is in the civil society and also a politician and a political scientist, also looking at Dr. Ogunyemi, how hard is it for political parties to, look at readings, political readings, especially towards election? Because if you look at what's been happening since the late 50s, we've seen similar situations in Edo and now in Osun. Quite frankly, only 42.1% of registered voters participated in this election on Saturday. That's pretty much lower than the 45.74% in 2018, which Taiwo highlighted earlier on. How can INEC tackle, or the political parties tackle voter apathy, Dr. Ogunyemi?
We cannot do anything outside of conscientization of the voters. I mean, they need to be conscientized. When people do not care about what happens around them politically, I mean, they are filled with cynicism, they are nonchalant, they don't care whatever happens. And anytime that they even take a decision to care, they are interested in selling their votes. What you do in that instance is conscientization. You conscientize the people through mass mobilization in terms of, if you like, a blitzkrieg in the press, the CSO, university, the colleges, to do, voter sensitization. My colleague there is correct. With respect to the role of the CSOs to conscientize the people. That's how it can be done. Otherwise, why would people be in such a huge economic problem and they don't care who is in charge of their states? I mean, it's amazing because they should be more interested in who governs a state in periods that are difficult, such as we are in now, than in periods that are much easier. So I would think that the Nigerian electorate is not significantly conscientized enough. Yes, we have social media, but most of the things that people do on social media are just entertainment. Entertainment within issues that has nothing to do with development. So we can take them out of that by engaging the press, by calling upon the CSO, as they are wont to do, to conscientize the people, to wake them up to the realities of their immediate political and economic environment, so that they can participate the more. The truth of the matter really is that people feel disenchanted with the system. And when a group of people are disenchanted with the system, they tend to be filled with cynicism and not wanting to do anything. But nothing can be more calamitous than that. Because if you are cynical and you don't want to care, then the system begins to atrophy, if not completely die out of your hands. So we pray that Nigerians, particularly the youthful population, 30 years and below, will be more involved now in political engineering.
And let's now coast home. Let's bring in Taiwo before we, Taiwo, we're closing. Listening to Dr. Ogunyemi, it's also the same pain you shared earlier on. Young Nigerians, as much as they come enlightened, they seem not to put that kind of enlightenment into play when it's election. So how much of a change are we likely to see as Nigeria moves into 2023, looking at the young voters?
Okay, so the structure of governance has to change. So if the structure of governance changes with respect to delivering of social services, and people start seeing that there's improvement in the quality of life of the people, then the people will be encouraged to participate in the electoral system. That's number one. Number two, the young people also want to see credibility in the manifesto that is being delivered by political parties. So if you have been promising electricity since 1999, you have been promising access to, pipe-borne water, access to, quality education, and there's no relationship between the, the resources that have accrued to you as a government, these are the promises you have made, there's no way people will be interested in participating in the electoral process. That's number two. Number three, the transparency of the electoral system has also undermined the participation, the quality of participation over the years. But with the improvement in the electoral system, with transparency now being firmly rooted, you will see that in the next few years, it's not going to be an overnight. The Nigerian electorate would like to see a sustainable trend in the improvement that INEC has introduced. If they see that it's sustainable and it is being replicated across Nigeria, then you can be rest assured that there will be a correlationship between between turnout and between turnout and non-turnout, as previously established. So for me, it's a work in process. It's not going to be an overnight thing, because right now people are disenchanted. Nigerian citizens are not happy with the government. Nigerian citizens are not happy with the electoral system. Nigerian citizens are not happy with the economic performance. So, but by the time they see a trend in transparency, they see a trend in the consolidation of technology by the electoral empire, they see that it's a trend between between the people's mandate and the results that have been, declared by INEC. Then you can rest assured that there will be improvement in the turnout of young people henceforth. Those days, people vote in the unit, and by the time the result gets to collation center, there are changes. And this has caused a lot of crisis across Nigeria. But it's the emphasis now on so-called coalition centered drama.
Okay, let me bring in Dr. Ogunyemi here, because we're almost out of time. Dr. Ogunyemi, listening to Taiwo, he's already started off trying to put his finger on some of the key things we should add on to what the country has, guided so far in terms of improvement in its electoral system. What more would you like to see, more so now that INEC is just warming up with just some staggered elections? So, Dr. Ogunyemi.
I would have loved a situation where electronic voting is introduced, where Nigerians can, from the comfort of their homes or their offices, or while in their respective places of engagement, can just vote for whoever they like. I mean, the Nigerian Bar Association has shown that admirably to the whole of the country in the election of their president and their other officers. It is doable. In fact, if Nigerians can operate any bank accounts anywhere and use the ATM card to cash, on their resources from the bank, why will they not be interested or complain that they cannot do electronic voting? It should be doable. And the National Assembly can be encouraged in that respect to make voting at maybe experimental level, at the state and local government level, electronic. And we can build upon that and build our political culture from it. The second thing that can be done is a further and better amendment to the Electoral Act, or even constitutional amendment with respect to party politics. For example, let there not be a situation where people cross capital and they cross into another political party, and within the first 2 weeks, they are given the presidential, the post to, the status to contest the presidential election in that political party. A party they have never worked for, a party they never knew anything about the structure, a party they have never done anything for. They just cross. Cross-carpeting should be possible, yes, but it should not be possible for a cross-carpeter to take on any political office in the new party that is adopting within a period of 4 years after joining. That will satisfy the system and introduce some discipline across the board.
No doubt that discipline is something that Nigerians also want, and you've also said something very key here. Perhaps I'm hoping that the lawmakers will look into that, and that is punishing the one who sells and the one who buys votes 2 ways. I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for being such nice company. Dr. Tunji, Ogunyemi, and Taiwo Akerele. Many thanks, gentlemen. And of course, don't forget to join News Center Television tomorrow, Tuesday, for the live broadcast of the Kenya Deputy Presidential Debate ahead of the August elections. I'll see you there. Bye-bye.